The second panel of today is dedicated to grassroots. How should we face the new challenge in youth training? To answer that question, you have Victor PASTORA, Mário Parreira, REIS, and the panel is moderated by João Paulo Costa. João, now it's your turn. Thank you.
Okay. Dear Ricardo and friends, welcome and Happy New Year to all of you and your families. Our subject today is how to face the new challenge in youth training. The panel of this debate is composed of coaches with experience in youth training and with practice in different and diverse social contexts. Our general idea of this panel will be the sharing of the perspective of each of us, depending on the context in which we are or have been inserted, and try to understand if will their problems be the same or different, what solutions are proposed, what is our point of view, okay? Like we know, today our society offers us different contexts, less green space, less free time, more technology and video games, more violence, less freedom, more regulations. We have a new society with new characteristics. In relation to youth training, how can we meet this new challenge? It's our big question. Rui, to start it, I will put you a small question. In the cities, there is less street football or place to practice it in a recreational and free way. Does this disrupt, disturb or break or not the learning and teaching of the game? What is your opinion about that? Please.
Okay, thank you, João. Hi everyone, Happy New Year to all of you. João, regarding your question, I don't think we have less spaces to play football. In our time, we played in every street, even if the street is up or down, we play. So the places are there. I think there are some evolution in our society that is making some variations in the development of the youth development of the kids, like stuff like the internet, the games, PlayStation and so on, TV, the schools. Here in Portugal now we have a new reality with all this new building of the new schools that we are seeing from the past 10 years more or less. We are seeing much rules with the kids. In the breaks, the kids in some schools can't, they are not allowed to play. In other schools they let them play, but even though in some days are 1 year that only plays the 5th grade, the 6th grade in the other day, in the 7th. In our days, everyone plays and everyone hit each other and run and stuff like that. So I think it's more or less this freedom that it's me against 10 and I have to run faster than them and I have to win my game for me in order for me to be picked to the team in the next day. That makes some part of our development as a player. And when in the end of the day I went to the club, I already had 5-6 hours of training in my training, my own way. In our days we don't see this because of this kind of rules, because we have now more parents. The parents are more like cops to the kids. The violence that we see in the streets sometimes is a little bit up. So the danger that is now that we see now in our streets, in the schools, climbing a tree, facing also all of this technology that we have today with our kids. It's making a huge change in our development of our kids, I think. In our opinion, we are seeing that in our soccer schools, we are seeing that in the club, and we are seeing that in some publications of many other clubs. We are seeing that is every day it's difficult to see or to pick a new Ronaldo, a new Figo, a new Messi. And that has to, in our point of view, has to do with this. The kids are practicing less, they have less freedom because of our society nowadays, because of all the technology that we are offering to the kids in our days. And I think combined with this, it's also the coach development. Here in Portugal, fortunately, we are very good at that. We have great universities, great teachers, great development even in the federation. And so we have kids with less ability and coach with more ability or more knowledge. That two things combined leave us to a track in the training sessions that I'm watching, as you know, from the past 8 to 10 years. That is a very beautiful training session to kids, but training sessions that are more professional training sessions, more elaborated training sessions, and less freedom, less creativity for the kid, freedom to choose, freedom to make mistakes, the 1v10 and sometimes some punches in the middle, because even the coaches now they see Mourinho in the television, some parts of the training session. I'm going to do that with my under 6 in the evening, but that doesn't make sense. And we have better coaches, less ability, and those two things combined, I think in the next 5-10 years, it's going to be hard to find that player, the player that makes what is that? Figo, Ronaldo, and all those great players that we created. But I think we created that because we leave the players, let them to be creative, to explore their own ability, and also those 5-6 hours that they have in the school, in the street with his friends. So all of this, I think we have to continue in this path, but trying to make something unique to the coaches of youth development on the base. They cannot be so, in our opinion, they cannot be so restricted and so professional in their job. They can be professional, but knowing that they are working with kids. Let them be free a little bit and teach them tiny little stuff, only for them to enjoy and live this great modality that is football.
Okay,
I don't know if I was too messy or
great
in my answer.
Mario or Victor, do you want to say something, please? Mario, please, can you?
Well, have a wonderful year for all of you, for all of my colleagues here in this panel, and for all the people that are looking for this Soccer Hub Web Summit. And according to what Rui told, he's really experienced with a great school in football, and for my experience in different contexts, I can tell that the street football still using according with social values. One of my experience in Egypt, in one city 120 kilometers away from Cairo, I saw the kids playing in the street. The question is the social values. Now I'm in China, and of course, also in Portugal, there are much more pitches to play football than exist when I play football. The academies and the football clubs are different and with a different organization. The question is, to be a football player and to be a football coach, it's also change the social value of that. It's a different status to be a football player today than to be a football player 20 years ago or 30 years ago. The same happened about football coaches. And I definitely agree with Rui when he told that spaces to play in the streets, they exist. The question is the society change. And if the society change, our approach needs to change. And of course, it's difficult. It's difficult to change something in our professional area. One of the things that must change is the coaching courses to work with youth generations. In my opinion, the most part of the coaches who work with youth generations, they work there for two main reasons. One of them, I'm not telling all the coaches, but the main part of the coaches. One, waiting to achieve to adult teams. The other ones, they work there because they didn't achieve the adult teams. In the coaching courses, I don't know if all the courses, even in Portugal, and we work well, our relation between coaching courses and university is huge. It's incredible. But I don't know if the coaching courses for the beginners, if they have any area related with youth football. And it's very specific about that. We all want, when I'm in China, and I will finish with this, I'm in China, and when we talk about references, they all know the name from Ronaldo, from Messi, from Iniesta, all these skillful players. Mm-hmm. But they don't care about work in this way. They just want fast results, and sometimes don't give time and space, and the coaches don't let this freedom to the players try 1v10, as Rui told us in the beginning. And sometimes this is it's difficult to balance what the coaches want and what the development from the players need.
Yes. Thank you, Mario. Great. Victor, do you want to say something on this?
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Happy New Year to everyone.
Welcome.
I'm a firm believer that if you look into top football players, they either come from the streets or they come from great clubs, and most of them is a combination of both. So it is essential that the players, before they reach a great club, they have the opportunity to find themselves on the streets, putting a couple hours a day of fun playing. Here in the United States, that is not possible. It is not part of the culture. It is not part of the environment. I'm sure it happens and you can see it once in a while, but usually here the kids are playing in their clubs. They start in recreational soccer. They start with recreational coaches, and then they move on to travel soccer, and then they move on to academy soccer, and then they move on to a higher level. But street soccer is not really common here, and it's a shame because there is a lot of space. I mean, any public school here has tons of space. You can play in the tennis courts, you can play on the grass, you can play on the football field, on the baseball fields, on the soccer fields. There is space, but it's not part of the culture. I think there are some initiatives coming from the private sector where they're trying to put soccer fields in different parts of the city, but the reality is that you don't need the soccer field. The space is there. If a kid has a ball and a bunch of friends and they want to play, they play, but it's just not part of their culture. They either go to an organized activity, or they do something else, and I think it has not become like pickup basketball in this country. There's a lot of pickup basketball, even pickup football, American football, and even pickup baseball. But I think soccer is a bit behind because our structure is such that from the very early stages, we have programs for the players. When the kids are 3-4-year-olds, there's already programs. You've got AYSO, you've got clubs creating programs at that stage. You've got so that you have recreational programs. So if a kid wants to play soccer, instead of going to the streets with his friends or his parents, they go to a club. And then that presents a second problem because it's better not to teach than to teach wrong. And some of these kids, they get the soccer ball now, and they get a coach that is trying to teach them, and then when he teaches technique, he teaches the wrong way. So if he's teaching, let's say, a move, if the scissor move or a cut, or the fine elements of the move cannot be taught by the coaches that are working with these kids. And that for me is one of the biggest problems in this country. It's not that we don't teach, it's that we teach the game wrong. And so the kids are permanently going out there doing the wrong thing. They run with the ball the wrong way, they dribble the wrong way, they pass, and I'm referring to technique, and they don't understand how to receive and pass and run and dribble properly. And they can't learn it in the streets, and they're learning it the wrong way. That's why for America to have a high level player, those kids with quality need to leave the country and enter more than likely a top European club that can groom them.
Okay, thank you. Victor, let me put you on a question directly to you, because it's from a forbidden rule. It's about it was forbidden to play with the heads in Miami, USA. How do they solve this situation?
I think the rule comes from the number of concussions that are happening in the country. And I think we first became aware in the United States of the amount of concussions that were going on unsupervised or not treated the right way through American football. And then through it, we began doing research in the other sports, and we found out that this is significant, that there's many young kids that are getting concussions that are not being treated properly, and then measurements were taken. Measurements like now, if there's a kid with a head injury, he must be taken out of the game, and the referee must perform a specific test to make sure that he can go back.
Okay.
And then there's different measurements, but among those measurements is not heading the ball until you're 13 years old. Personally, I think, at U12, we should be able to head the ball. And sometimes in different cities, the leagues, I think in the U12 age group, can determine if they allow it or they don't allow it. The other problem we have with heading is that we don't players don't have the proper technique to head the ball. So they're crashing heads because they don't open their arms to protect their space. And they head the ball at a young age on the wrong spot, and then it becomes a headache. But it is basically, it's a rule that was, I agree with the rule. I respect the science. However, I think I think a U12 is an age group that should be a transition, and we should be able to teach the players to head the ball properly in that age instead of waiting at 13, because you go from playing with a size 4 small ball to heading a ball that is coming from 20 yards away. Now you go to play with a size 5 to heading a ball that is coming from 60 yards away. So it's, for them to experience that for the first time, I think is not ideal. I think a U12 is a good age group to transition into it and teach the technique and incorporate heading into the game.
Okay. Mario, do you want to say something about this time?
Well, about that, of course, it's different from what I feel, but I respect if the studies and the researchers can say something about that. I think it's not a big problem if they introduce in under 12, like Vitor said. I think it's not a big problem.
Okay. Rui, do you want to put some words, right?
It's the same. I have to respect the rule, even though I don't think there is no such a scientific study about the ball in the head and future stuff that provokes something in the kid. I don't know no scientific study. I have access to the numbers, only the numbers about concussions in 2010. And yes, soccer in USA had more concussions than basketball, baseball, and hockey, if I'm not wrong. All of three, soccer had more concussions. Okay, so that is a good point. We have to solve that problem if we have a problem like that. But even though I like to cross, if I am the guy that rules the world, cross that number with other countries. Why is only that we know USA the only country that has more concussions? Why? First, this is true or not? Okay, I'm wrong, so it's more countries, so let's try to find a way. In this way, makes some sense. Stop the game. Let's make some evaluation in the kid, and then treat or take off or go to the hospital, wherever. But even though I think here in Portugal we don't have that problem, I think it's a little bit like Victor said. Probably the first thing that they should look at is how they start teaching the kids how to move, how to approach the ball, how do they approach the ball, how do they approach the ball with the opponent, how do they approach the ball with the goalkeeper. That tiny little stuff, even the ball hitting the head, tiny little balls, 3, 4, 5. We have several ways of trying to solve this problem, but again, in USA, soccer is not the first big sport, so probably, and they are known about that. The numbers, they saw that numbers in the hospitals and stuff like that, and make their own rule to solve that problem. But I think it's a good point to study a little bit more, cross with other countries, and try to find a solution without take off that part of the game, because that is a part of the game. That is also a part of development in a kid. to be a professional top player.
Okay, thank you. Let's fly to China and talk with Mario. Mario, about one question in particular. It was until 2 years ago, in China is now the law of the only child, which promotes children, protect all the children. They don't have to do too many things because the fathers and all the family protect them and do almost everything. But when we are playing against another guy in the game, how do we fit them into the teaching and training dynamics in a group? And because football it's a collective game, how can we resource how can we have an answer to this question? Please help us.
This is a great question, João, and maybe we are talking about social values. This is a society. I will not tell problem, because problem is for us under our vision. For them, it's a cultural way.
Yes.
Of course, if we look for China, they are really great in individual sports. They have one way to develop and to select the best athletes for different sports. One way to organize the practice and to develop them. And this way to do this process is really close. They selected the maximum number of athletes for swimming, for gymnastic. They work, repeat, of course, and they have high level on that. And after that, they selected the best ones. I'm in China during the last 2 years and a half. I also learned a lot about this process, and if I rewind in my mind, I made lots of mistakes, and I learned with my mistakes in that time. If we bring our concepts from here and we try to apply in China, maybe we will feel a little bit disappointed in the beginning. If I will tell that happened with me when I say, okay, let's go kids, groups of three in one group, and they don't know what they need to do. They didn't decide it. I need to tell you there, you in yellow, you in blue, and they are really fast to do that. And this is a part of this and this cultural way of living that we need to face in sports like football. Yes, you're right, João, when we tell this is a collective sport, we need to take decisions together for one team. China, and some of my friends maybe are listening to me here today, but China living with that only China policy, they create big individual values. Everybody looking for himself, from their own family, from his own child. I can tell you that one day we made one activity from the Father's Day, and we invite the parents to play with the kids in one free activity, just for fun. And I can tell you that the parent can one of the parents dribbling all the kids, can score the goal, but he wait for his own child to pass the ball. And the child still on the defense, he called because he just wants the success from his own child.
Okay.
And this is difficult for us. I can tell you that, for example, the concept of teams is something that we need to develop there. We need to go there with open mind to try to adapt and change that in a good way. And I can tell you maybe 4 points, really important, that is really different from another country like Portugal or Spain or France or any country in Europe. But if I told you that it's important to develop the idea to regular training, because sometimes they have extremes, or they just go for fun, and if they don't went to the training during 2 weeks, they want to go there and they think this is like a chip. They learn 3 weeks ago, why they don't do it now? And at the end of this, they want a certificate. They want a diploma that what they can learn on that. But, well, not forget what I'm telling. This is regular training. If we talk about, for example, the schools teams, maybe they made 5 or 6 trainings per week. It's an extreme. When they want to training, they training maybe 2 hours per day, but the pedagogical forms are not the best ones for football. Second point, regular matches. The problem there in China is there are no regular competitions, no weekly competitions. This is not good for the kids, is not good for their development as a players, and too much focus on training. Then I will tell 2 concepts. One is decision taking. When we talk about decision taking, it's a little bit different than decision making. First, we need to work in decision taking because they don't have any kind of tools. The most part of the kids don't have references. They don't watch football on TV. They know who is Ronaldo, they know who is Messi, they know who is Beckham, but they don't know what they do. They just know because the media talk about them. But if I ask for some kids, if they already saw one full match on TV, maybe 80% of the kids never saw. They are not, this is not a country with a cultural passion about football. And the parents don't, maybe these kids that I'm training today, when they will be parents, they will create better sons with more passion about football.
They change, right? Let me talk about the parents and the children, about the role of the parents during the practice. Some days, sometimes in Portugal, in the other countries, you can saw the parents outside of the field, like a PlayStation, and tell to the son what they have to do. What your opinion about the rules of the parents and the what they have to do, and if they are correctly when they are near to the son and try to say them do this and do that.
Well, parents, João, parents are parents all over the world. This is what I feel. I don't know how it's in United States with the Vitor or the other places in the world with the Rui, but the parents there, of course they are close from the kids. They try to stay there. If we allow it, they stay inside of the pitch. They don't understand a lot about football. They are more focused about individual performance from his own kid. And what is really different is they try to use the mobile to take videos to send to the friends, to the social networks.
Yes.
And this is what they try to do. And they try to tell to the kids to do something, but more focus in the not understanding about the game, but more focus in the performance, individual performance.
Okay, thank you. Victor, can you tell me your opinion, please, about this question? The role of the parents?
Yes, I agree. I agree with Mario. You know, parents are, you know, very similar everywhere. And I guess with time, they start changing and they behave a little bit differently. At the end of the day, parents are a fan of their children. You know, they're not a fan of their club. They're not a fan of the sport. If the kid has ability, they want him to do soccer. If the kid has no ability, they take him to do some other sport. And so we respect the parents' anxiety and interest, but we try to keep them as far away from our training and game environments. Basically, what I think that we are starting to do here is that we respectfully, you know, protect the space of the players. So if the kids, even from a young age, as U12 and up, if they travel to an event where they have to stay in a hotel, they no longer travel with the parents. They also stay in a different hotel. They are not allowed to transport them. So the clubs have taken the responsibility of kind of protecting the space of the players. When it comes to training, the parents cannot be around the field. They stay away about 20 yards behind whatever side of the parking lot is, towards the parking lot. We try to also educate the parents. It's very important to educate them, and it's something that you have to be patient and you have to have kind of like a curriculum on, you know, what you're going to teach them on the monthly basis. And it's not only about nutrition or about the season or about the financial demands, but also I found that you need to be very patient. But I think with time they learn not to coach or yell out instructions during games, to respect the environment. They kind of understand that the players need to make their own decisions, that the instructions, if there's any, should be coming from the coaches, that they need to. I think with time they start, I guess, understanding and respecting the space and the sport a little better. And then the ones that don't still need to adhere by certain rules, you know, and make sure they stay away from being so distraction, you know. Then what happens, when they get in the car and they drive home, you cannot control what they're going to say, you know. But
Rui, please.
I agree with all of them. Parents, as I say in many lectures that I give to the coaches here in Portugal, parents make parts of the process. We cannot, and we have to be aware of that. Okay. Second, in their own way, they want their best for their kids. In their own way, even if it's saying the opposite of the coach, but it's their own way. They want the best. So grabbing these two things, we try to work with the kid, respect also the parents, because we know that this is a triangle between the coach, the parents, and the kid, of course. And I think it's very important what Victor said about also coaching the parents, also giving some good manners to the parents, also trying to make the parents understand, the mother, the father, whatever, understand that they know less than us. I don't see no parent coming into the medical or the physician entering the office and saying, I'm not going to do this or do that, or I'm not going to take this pill or that. Why they do in our profession. Here in Portugal, the parents are coaches because we have this society. Everyone is a coach,
Yes,
and the parents know more than us. So we have to be a little bit more aggressive in the positive way, more aggressive with the parents, trying to pass the message that they don't know as much as us. They don't know all the process. They are only focused in one part of the process. And some, of course, some of the parents are looking. In our club, we have that problem. Some of the parents are looking to us to make and create the next Ronaldo, and put the expectations so up too high, and we have to manage that. We have to manage the expectation of the kid, the expectation of the parents. But in the end of all of this, in the end of the day, we have the parents are there. The parents make part of this process. So it has to be the structure of the club and the coach to manage all of these components, all of the kids, all of the parents, all of that.
Okay, just great. Thank you. Let me put to all of you one last question. It was about what are the main suggestions you leave to youth coach. Please, let me start to Mario, please.
Well, I would like to let, because we are almost finished, I would like to let not receipt like I'm so used to work in China. They want something like receipt for everything. This is just sharing, and this is the first point that I will let for the new generation of coaches. First, don't be afraid to share ideas, share opinions, talk about football. Don't keep from themselves everything that they think that is just from himself. And like Jose Mourinho said in the other day in one
Interview
from Portuguese Federation, the knowledge is in one click in internet.
Yes.
I saw some new generation of coaches making some collections of exercises from all over the world, from the big coaches, from the biggest clubs, and they are happy with that. But there are something that is really important. First, like Rui said, and I definitely agree, we need skillful football players. We need to produce more skillful football players. For that, the coaches need to try to take out the pressure just from the results. Something need to change on that, and from the results on the youth generations, something need to change. And the coaches who came from the universities, who came from with good experiences, cannot think that just because I shoot one stone under there are opportunity to be a new Villas-Boas or a new big coach in one club. It's really important to think we need to create the players and the new football players that everybody wants to see, like Ronaldinho, like Messi, like Iniesta. And I agree and I respect when we talk just pass, but let him go. Let him play 1v2, 1v3, 1v4, no problem. Decided something for that. Second point, it's important when we enter in a youth training process, we need a plan, no problem. Plan, knowledge, time, and leadership. Someone needs to be the leader of the process. And this is organization. Of course, sometimes need investment, but if we keep this, and the Portuguese coaches are really good on that, we can organize a lot of things with less investment sometimes. And like we talked before we start this panel. And to finish, please, the new youth generations sometimes put a little bit more focus on behaviors. When we go to the courses, the coaching courses, it's about knowledge. and sometimes we forget behaviors. We try to copy the coaches from the high level, and we forget that we are training kids. And passion, empathy, teamwork, friendship, safety. This is something that we cannot forget when we are working with the kids. This is what I think that.
Many thanks, Mario. Thank you. Vitor, please.
Yes. Well, it depends a lot what age group and what environment they're coaching, but I would say be age specific. It's very important because sometimes coaches are, they talk to a 9-year-old like they talk to a 15-year-old, and I think they need to be age specific. They need to understand the psyche of the players and what demands make sense from the elements of the game. I think. I always advise coaches to make sure they create an environment where kids have fun and they're happy, and that we respect the integrity of the players, because sometimes we make it so stressful and so demanding, and sometimes players learn and execute and perform better when they're relaxed and they can focus without being stressed. I think they need to become, it's a life challenge or a life, it's your life to learn and improve every day. So you learn how, when, and what you teach. You need to try to and become a better teacher week after week, and be, evaluate your training sessions after each day and make notes of the things you could have done better. Just you challenge yourself to teaching in the best way, in the best manner. And then I would advise them to, to be player centric, to focus on individual development before team development. A lot of coaches in the early stages, a player, they're trying to win at 9, 11, 13, 15, and winning is part of the game. You always play to win, but I think they should focus on individual development rather than team development and winning, And the last one is, I think they have to prioritize. If they're a part of a program like RUI, they already have everything, give it to them. But if not, if they have to create their own plans, I think they have to prioritize technique, making sure they teach technique and they focus on technique and, running with the ball, passing, receiving, shooting, heading, and a lot of dribbling. We don't allow, we don't encourage, and we don't teach dribbling enough.
Okay, thank you, Vitor. Please, Rui.
Regarding to my suggestions to the coaches, first of all, I think they have to be honest with themselves and honest with the kids that they have in front. That is a kid from someone else. I have to be honest. What do I want for my future? That is the first question that these young coaches go to the training sessions when they go out of the university or from the courses of the federations. What do I want to my future? It's the first teams, it's Mourinho level, Guardiola level. That is honesty. That no problem with that. But if their own objectives is that, so try to go there. Don't, as Mario told before, if they don't have the chance to go there, they continue working with the kids in the same way if they are there. So this doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense because I'm not going to put a 6-year-old kid driving a Formula One. He doesn't know how to drive. It's the same thing. I'm not giving the correct food to the kid. Then try to teach without judging. The kid is going to make wrong things. Don't judge the kid. Teach the kid. Orientate the kid. More than teaching, more than saying how they are going to do it, orientate the kid. Give them problems to solve. Don't solve the problems for them. Okay? And I think it's a little bit of what Mario was telling about what is missing a little bit from the courses in the federations, in the universities. We don't have the time to appreciate how to develop a coach. That is my work on the last 10 years, is to see the best coaches, how to work on the coach, appreciate the work that we do. Then we have to work on development objectives and not competitive objectives. I don't want to know if I'm going to on the weekend play against Benfica or Porto or whatever and make my microcycle based on that. I have to work based on some objectives that I have, development objectives. Normally that is an LTPD, a long-term player development that we have, and is going to touch, of course, in the points that Mário and Victor said about some stuff of technique, tactical, psychological, physical. Of course, we work on that, even with the little ones, a little bit of everything, and we try to teach the game, not only tiny little stuffs. We try to teach the game all together, and the main thing is the coaches must be honest with themselves and respect the great work that they have, that is trying to develop kids. They are very natural, very direct with us. They are not going to lie with us. If we are a bad coach, they are going to say it. There are many ways that they say that to us.
Just great. Thank you. I want to say thank you to all of you. It was a great moment for me. It was a great pleasure to share this moment with all of you, and thank you for your sharing. Okay, I hope you see it soon.
Thank you as well.
Thank you. All the best, Vitor. All the best, Rui.
All the best, Mário.
Also,
Rui.
Mário, Victor,
JOÁO. Thank
all the
you.
best, and
Thank you,
great
brother.
2018.
Okay.